Hi guys, Dahlia here, welcome to my channel. As with my creating a character series, this series will also have its own workbook. It will be on my website as a free Word and PDF download. If you have any questions about world building, please drop a comment below and I'll make sure to answer them in my videos. Let's get into the video. Number 4. Politics. Months ago I wrote down 16 types of government and their explanations to assist with creating the governments in the Acro Contessa. I just didn't realise how handy they would be for the future. So here's a rundown. A republic, a democracy, a theocracy, an autocracy, a technocracy, fascism, anarchy, a monarchy, an oligarchy, a plutocracy, tyranny, totalitarianism, a federation, communism, junta, and finally a dictatorship. But I will talk more about these in the political episode. I'm trying to get these things done really quick because this video is going to be huge. With this in mind, what are the political concerns? What are past political concerns? How are rulers elected? Who decides and governs taxes? Who is in power currently? Number 5. Economy. Depending on how well your governmental system works for the people, the economy will either thrive or fail. It might even thrive in some areas while it fails in others. Think about the professions your world requires. If your world is the same or similar to Earth's, then this might be relatively simple. But I can guarantee that you'll miss at least one trade in your research. While planning my science fiction trilogy, I noted down farming and agriculture for food, but I forgot barley for alcohol and wool for clothing. Consider the trades carefully. If your world has buildings, then you're going to need an architect, carpenter, electrician, plumbing. And what about the people that make the windows for their houses? Or those that lay the concrete? On the other end of the spectrum, how's your healthcare system? You'll need doctors, nurses, teachers, to teach people to become doctors and whatnot. You'll need business managers and accountants. Work can generally be cut into 3 factors. It can be mental, it can be physical, and it can be spiritual. Physical work is that of a bricklayer or carpenter, something that they do with their hands. Mental work is that of an accountant or a psychologist. And spiritual work is that of a priest, shaman, or psychic. What is the work ethic of your people? Does it change from class to class? Or do people just generally have a different view in each different profession? Or is it just random? Depending on the success of your professions, your world could either be wealthy or poor. Your world could also be powerful. Or the world could be full of crime. Enter number 6. Law. One popular trope in dystopian is the lower class being a threat to themselves and others. So what constitutes a crime? If someone murders another, can they get off on a loophole, say self-defense, or are they charged straight away? Classes could also have different laws. In my science fiction trilogy, the policing agents are allowed to carry weapons and allowed to shoot people on sight through hearsay or even just general suspicion. But if the higher or lower class is found with any weapons on them, then they will be charged accordingly. The crimes of your world could mirror those that are in your state or in your country, or if you're feeling particularly creative, create your own. Who enforces the law? Normally this is the job of many people. The government make the law, the police adhere to the law, and the judge executes the law. Is this the way your world runs? Or is the judicial system controlled by a person or a group? The thought police of George Orwell's 1984 are a conglomerate of people who control the crimes. The government generally stays out of this because it's seen as something quite lowly, it's not important to them. Once the person's caught committing the crime, how are they punished? If the death penalty exists in the world, they might be killed on spot or taken in to be judged for guilt or innocence. Different crimes might call for different punishments, say something more severe or less severe. How are the punishments carried out? If the policing agents are allowed to use force, they might carry guns or laser beams. Are the general public allowed to carry weapons? If so, what for? Could it be that they're allowed to carry it for freedom or for the rights of self-defense? In what other ways are weapons used? Consider fishing, hunting, or sport. Normally, the larger, more devastating weapons are used for war and war only, which brings us to our next topic. Number 7. War. War is a huge part of many stories. Many science fiction or fantasy novels either begin or end with a battle. If you're writing historical fiction, you might cover some portion of the war. If any of your characters are involved in a war, they will need training. No one just knows how to fight naturally. The people could be trained in massive groups like in Equilibrium, or one-on-one training such as in Doctor Strange. But ultimately it depends on the genre of your story and the nature of the war. If your world or story revolves around a battle, how are the armies arranged and maneuvered? Spartan hoplites arrange themselves into what is called an onomate. This means 5 columns of 7 to 8 people. 4 onomate make up 1 Pentecostes. 4 Pentecostes made up 1 lokos, which is 80 columns of 7 to 8. Having such a huge arrangement, they were able to use maneuvers such as the anastrophe. This maneuver was used to double the flanks. A number of files about turned, hence the name anastrophe, marching to the rear, turning left or right to go behind the front flanks. If your story revolves around war, you'll need to understand war maneuvers. This also helps for understanding the size of the army needed and also the weapons that they will need, or shields and defense and other methods like that. Is there a current battle taking place? Is one ensuing? Even the threat of war is enough to see the importance of battle strategies. As I said before, it all depends on the type of war. Number 8. Magic. Bronislaw Malinowski wrote in his book, Myth and Primitive Psychology, that magic should accomplish one of 3 things: to produce, to protect, or to destroy. With this in mind, magic doesn't seem too impossible to write well. What you want to consider first is how it was pushed into existence. Even if your world has always had magic and the reason for its existence is no longer relevant to the plot, you still need to understand this. Your story can't involve magic just because it does. Perhaps a god bestowed the gift of magic onto a human, or the magic chose the human, such as Excalibur and King Arthur. What types of magic exist in your world? Are they in the form of spells, talismans, or gems, or through the mind alone like telekinesis? Can magic be amplified using something like a wand? As with all powers and characters, there must be limitations. If the antagonist has unlimited power, then how is the protagonist supposed to defeat it? On the flip side, if the protagonist has all the power, then there's no stakes because the antagonist can't defeat it and, well, it wins easily, and there you have it. That's your story. All powers, whether magical or gotten through scientific enhancements, have to have rules. You should ultimately know your magic system as well as the character who's using it. Number 9. Technology. As with magic, technology also needs an origin explanation. The thing I like to ask myself is whether the equipment is revolutionary or evolutionary. Revolutionary means that it is a completely new product that no one's ever thought of before, that is not even remotely similar to what exists now. And evolutionary means that it is something that has stemmed from another product. Say like with the pages and mobile phones. If the thing existed beforehand, then why was it advanced? It might have been out of season for the rich, or maybe it was just necessary. Something that trips a lot of authors up is the technology, more so the explanation for it. If a character's grown up around technology their whole life, then they're not going to be surprised by it when something happens. So how do you get your reader to understand what's going on? So either your character is new to your world and someone has to show them, or they figure it out for themselves, or they can explain the process as it happens. Say they're driving their car through the clouds and they're pummeling into them and they're spraying everywhere and water's just going everywhere and they're getting drenched and having the time of their life. This is a great way to explain it because you are using what they're feeling physically and also how they're experiencing it mentally. As long as you can avoid paragraphs of exposition, the second is perfectly fine to use. So that concludes the first episode of my Creating a World series. The readers will appreciate the effort that you put into it. Remember that you don't have to include all of the details that you can think of into your story. In fact, it's detrimental to do this. This episode wasn't at all exhaustive, it was just a very quick guide and rundown. It didn't seem quick because it's a long video, but I tried to make it quick. And I know that the singular episodes will only just scratch the surface. I encourage you to do your own research further into the specific topics and areas that you want to study for your world. It is a fascinating part of the writing process and it shouldn't be a chore. If you're writing fantasy and have embarked on creating your own world, then remember, research, research, research. And please stay tuned for the next installment of this series. If you have any questions or you want me to cover a specific topic, please drop a comment below. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more. I post writerly videos on Thursdays, and next week I will be covering the sarcastic writing tag, which I'm really excited for because I feel like it's just going to be so stupid, and I love that. So thank you for joining me for today, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye!